Okay guys, today we're going to talk about solving inequalities. And an inequality, and we're talking about in these terms, is very similar to solving an equation, but there's no equal sign. That's why it's called an inequality. So the equal sign is replaced with the greater than or less than symbol, or greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to symbol. So one of these four symbols will take the place of the equal sign. Other than that, everything is basically the same. You would solve it the exact same way. You start out by isolating the variable, so you want to add 6 to this side and add 6 to this side of the inequality. And that leaves you with 4n is greater than 30 plus 6 is 36. Continue to isolate the variable by dividing. Leaves you with n is greater than 9. Now, what this means is that there are many different numbers that will fit this problem. Many solutions will fit in here. Just because n is greater than 9, all the numbers that are bigger than 9 will fit in this. So not one single number has to be the answer to solve this. Many numbers fit into this. In the equation, if this were an equal sign, it would have to be that n has to equal 9. Well, in an inequality, it just means that n is any number that's greater than 9. And the way that you would graph it is this, and this is one change that's different. When you're finished, you would draw a number line, and you would just put a few numbers leading up to the number you got for a solution, and a few after. And when there is just a greater than or less than sign, meaning that there's no line underneath this, meaning greater than or less than or equal to, you would put an open circle on the number, and the arrow is always going to point to the part that you want to shade. So this end of the line, from there all the way to infinity, will fit that equation. And the way that you try it is just pick a number that falls on that line. For example, try 10 and plug it in where you find n in the problem. And so if I go 4 times 10 is 40, minus 6 is 36. Is 36 greater than 30? Yes, it is. So you know that your solution works and that your number line answer is correct. So any number that falls beyond 9 is going to work. Now let's try another one. n minus 7, let's go plus 7, is less than or equal to 28. Solve it the same way. Subtract 7 from both sides. 3n, the sign stays the same, is less than or equal to 21. Now divide by 3. That gives you n is less than or equal to 7. And so if we graph this, I'm going to say a few numbers leading up to, a few numbers after. Number lines have arrows on both ends. The arrow is always going to point the direction that you need to graph it. So when you see this line under there, it means n is less than or equal to. When you see that line, you have to have a solid shaded in circle at that point, because that means 7 is included in this inequality. And I'll explain that a little bit in a second, but I'm going to go ahead and shade this so all the numbers that are less than 7 fit into this inequality. Now I'm going to go back up and plug 7 in to this inequality. And this would be 3 times 7, which is 21. 21 plus 7 is less than or equal to 28. 28 is less than or equal to 28. So that one works. 28 is less than or equal to, and that's what the line means, 28, so that solution works. Let's just say that I wasn't sure which way I thought the line should go on my graph, and I tried it the other way and I plugged 6 in there. 3 times 6 is 18 plus 7 is less than or equal to 28. I'm sorry, I should have said 8 because it is going that way. So let's change that. Sorry about that. 3 times 8 is 24 plus 7 is less than or equal to 28. 24 plus 7, 31 is less than or equal to 28. No, it most certainly is not. So that does not work as a solution. So that means that my graph does work the right way when any number 7 or less is included in that set of answers that will fit. Just remember, whenever you see this line, it means that the circle is shaded completely. And whenever you see just greater than or less than, it's an open circle. So those are the few things that you have to remember. And there's one other thing that you need to remember, and it's a little tricky. It's probably the most complicated thing when doing inequalities. Now I'm going to stick to this format of 2n, let's go negative 2n minus 5 equals 15. Oh, not equals because we're doing inequalities. Sorry. Less than or equal to. So, solve it the same way. Add 5 to both sides. That leaves me with negative 2n is less than or equal to 20. Now, I have to divide by negative 2 to get rid of that. This is the one thing that you have to remember, so put a star by it, whatever you have to do. Whenever you divide by a negative number to isolate the variable, you have to flip this sign around the opposite way when you get your answer. So that sign will be turned around. N is greater than or equal to negative 10. Now, let me graph this. And about 4 or 5 numbers on your graph is plenty. So, negative 10, and this is a greater than or equal to problem, so that is shaded in. The arrow always points to the way that I shade, and those numbers all represent solutions to that inequality. So I'm going to try negative 8 up here just to see if it works. So I've got negative 2 times negative 8, that's 16. 16 minus 5 is less than or equal to 15. 16 minus 5 is 11. And that's absolutely true. That works. Now, if you don't flip the sign for your answer, you're going to shade it the wrong way. And let's just say that you didn't flip this sign. Let's say that you made a mistake and you thought it was supposed to go this way. And we plug in negative 11 into that solution. And we try it. Negative 2 times negative 11 is 22. 22 minus 5 is less than or equal to 15. 22 minus 5 is 17. You've done something wrong because 17 is not less than nor is it equal to 15. So that's what you have to remember. When you divide by a negative number to isolate the variable, you always reverse the sign and flip it around. And your way to check these problems is to take one of the numbers that's in the solution, it doesn't matter which one, plug it back in and make sure that it represents a true statement. And if one number on this line will work, then anything below those numbers will also work. So that's all there is to it. We'll work on this for the rest of this week, and shouldn't be any big problems. It's just like solving equations. The only differences are the graphing and flipping the signs when you divide by a negative number. So just be careful, watch the signs, and you should be fine. Good luck.